Hello there, I'm going to give you an introduction to how you can set up your first web page in Visual Studio Code and how to create a box and color it. Okay, so first of all, when you open up Visual Studio Code, you should see a page a little bit like this. If you've just installed it, you'll need to make sure you choose your workspace layout and a theme of your choice. So once you get to this page, you've got a few choices. You can either go to your open folder. If you don't see this, it might be hidden on the side under Explorer, or you can just simply go New File. What I'm going to do is click on this little icon and do Open Folder. Now, it's really important that you do create a folder for your website projects. This means that all of your files for your website will go into the same place. Now, for this purpose, I'm just going to click on New Folder in a place I'd like to keep it, and I'm going to call this Website 2122. Make sure you've selected this folder, and it should change your screen to say Website 2122 just on there. And then just say that you trust that location. Okay, so with this selected, you can open a new file in two ways. You can either go New File, or you can click this little icon here. Okay, if you click the icon there, it allows you to save it as what you would like. So I'm just going to put index.html, and you'll see before I've even clicked enter, it's already put this little icon in there to say that it's a HTML file. Click enter, and you'll see it has opened it up in a new screen. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to start the basic skeleton of the website. Okay, so first of all, what I've created here is a comment. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little message in the comment. Now, anything written inside of a comment will not be shown in your website at all. You'll see it's shaded out, which means that you can write as many comments as you like to yourself in your code, and it will not be displayed. This can be viewed through view page code when you view it in a browser, but don't worry about that for the moment. Just be careful of some of the wording of your comments to make sure they're not inappropriate. So I'm just going to start the first few lines. So what we want to do is type in capital letters, doc type, saying what type of document is, and HTML. Okay, we then want to just put HTML. Now what Visual Studio Code does is automatically put the ending in there for you, which is fantastic. As you should be aware, if you're not, hopefully you will be now, it's vital that you have your opening and closing tags. If you don't have the ending tag, you'll really come stuck when it comes to putting your website on the server. So we just want to make sure it's correct first of all. Now what I do is I try and keep my my code quite tidy to make it easier to work with. So you'll see I sometimes add these little indents. Okay, so what we want next is our head. Now, this is not a header. This is not where you put your navigation or anything like that inside the head. This head is literally for a few purposes. Adding titles so that you have like the tabs at the top of your website. We'll add that in now. You'll see it's ended it for me. I'm just going to call this home. Okay, so these are nice, and you can put, you know, if you're working on a menu, for instance, you could put in their menu in there. And when we test it, you'll see it appear. The other things that people use this for is keywords. So if you're interested in like digital marketing and SEO, you'll see the head very useful for that. We'll also be using the head later to add in a link to our style sheet, but we won't do that for the moment. So we've got our head, which is important, and the other one is the body. Okay, now you'll see here I tend to space these out a little bit. You don't have to. Adding spaces here won't add any space to your actual website. That's what the paragraphs are for, which we'll have a look at. This is just really important. Everything that you want to be shown in your website needs to be within these body tags here. If you don't, you do come up with errors, and again, it is vital that you close them down here. Now, what Visual Studio Code is excellent at doing is if you click on the top tag, it finds the end tag for you. So if you're ever not sure where it is, where it's gone, where it's hidden in your code, just click it and it will kind of like little flash up for you. Like, here I am. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to add a little box, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to put div class. And if you click enter at that point, I'll do that again so you can see. If you write class, you see it pops up with this little icon. If you now just click enter, it will add the equals and the little marks at the top there for you. If you forget to do that, you just need to type them in, okay? And what I'm going to just do is put content 1. Okay, you can name this anything that you want to. It's easier if you name it something that's going to represent, you know, a certain section of your website to make it easier for you, because if you've got many boxes, unless you're using the same one with the same styles, it's going to make things a lot easier for you. Okay, now when I pressed enter, you'll see that it's closed that that tag for me. So this is just like any other tag. You must have an opening and a closing tag in there. So now that we have our content box, what we're going to do is we're just going to put some content in there just so that we can show something. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a paragraph, and that's just with P, and you'll see once you've closed it, it will create an ending tag. And I'm just going to put in there, this is a box of content. So you will see, it also depends on your theme, but all the tags are in blue, and the actual content which we'll show is in white for mine. As I say, if you've got a different theme, it will be a different colour potentially. Okay, so now this is the box. I've closed it, I've got the openings there, and I've got some content in there. Now these P tags, any content that you put inside will create a new paragraph. So if you've got lots of content for your website, the P tags will be your best friend here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save it. Now, normally I would just do Control C on Windows, but I'm just going to show you how to do so on here. So you go to File and Save. You've already saved it originally, or when you created the file, you already gave it a name. If you haven't done that, if you've just gone Create New, you'll need to go File, Save As. And again, just make sure you save it as a .html file. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what this looks like in the browser. Okay, so here you can see I'm in my website 2122 folder, and here is my file here. So I called mine index. Generally, the first page of your site, you generally want to call it index because that's when you upload it to a server, that's the first page that will open. If you did call it home, it might get a bit confused as to which to open first. You'll also notice that I used lowercase for all of them. This is basically just a standard lowercase and no spaces. Okay, if you haven't saved this correctly as a web file or as a HTML file, it won't have a little icon like this, but your icon might depend on what you normally use to open up your browser with. And you'll see it's nothing too exciting. It just says this is a box of content, and it's got no colour, no size, no positioning or anything at all. It's just the words that we put on there, and you'll see that the title that we put in the head element is just in the top there, so it just says home, like so. The file here, it will depend on where you've saved all of your folders or your main file. Okay, so we're back to our Visual Studio Code, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in a link to a page that we're about to create. Okay, so I'm just going to go inside the head tags here. So just under title, I'm just going to tab a few times. What we want is link. And again, if you press enter, it will create those elements, or those little equal sign and things for you. What we want is style sheet. Okay, make sure you've obviously spelled it correctly, unlike me. Style sheet, there we go. Then I'm going to go after those and just put in type. And we want text / CSS. And lastly, what we're going to link it to, and I'm just going to put styles.css. Okay, so this bit here, you can name this anything that you want to, but it has to link. This has to be the same as the styles page that we're about to create. So if you call yours style sheet, you need to make sure this says stylesheet.css. And you'll notice I haven't yet closed this with a bracket. And what Visual Studio Code does is it highlights where there's an error. So it's saying, this you can't, you're trying to link everything, including this bit here. There's an error. Okay, so what we want to do is just close that. And error goes away. Okay, and you'll see this little circle here that's telling us that we just need to save. Okay, so that won't have changed anything on our website. It just means that when we create a new file, it will be saved. Okay, so I'm just going to click here, new file, and I'm just going to put in styles.css. Okay, and you'll see this has a different icon to the HTML file. Now, what you can't do is you can't put this code into your style sheet. It's different. And there are many different ways of adding styles to your website. You can do it in this document, but I'm just going to show you an external style sheet. I just find them easier to use. They're more practical for many pages. So what we're just going to do is, what we want to do is we want to style this box. Okay, we want to style content 1. So what we do is we go to, create a bit of space, dot content. Because this is a class that we've created, we want dot content, and then we want one of these curly brackets. And what I'm going to do first of all is just add a color. So what we want is background. Once you've typed that, there should be lots of different options here for you, saying, do you want to add an image? We just want background color. And notice it has to be the American spelling, okay? So a lot of people get caught out by that. So it's COLOR. And I'm just going to, oh, chocolate looks nice. Okay, so I'm just going to add chocolate. If you decide you don't want that color, you can just hover over and just choose a different color. You can also change the opacity of it as well, which is excellent. So we're just going to give this a height, and I'm going to put 500 pixels. You can also use percentage as well, but just for this purpose, I'm just going to use pixels. And I just want 500 again. Okay. So that's it. That's all we need to first add some styling to our box, but we just need to save it for it to work. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up my browser. And again, you don't have to keep closing this and opening it back up. You can just refresh the same one so long as you've saved your other files. So let's give it a go. It's usually a bit quicker than this, and it hasn't worked. So what you can see here is generally a reason why things don't work. And what I did was I put content, not content 1. So let's see if that works. We are human. Mistakes do happen. I'm just going to say that again. And let's give it another try. Fingers crossed. There we go. Okay, so we now have our box filled with our chocolate colour. Interesting. Not seen chocolate with this colour before, but there we go. So now we've just created our box. Now, if you wanted to make it wider, you could change that to, change the, if you want to make it wider, obviously it has to be width. Let's add 1,000 there. And then check it again in our browser. And you'll see we've made it wider. We could try adding 100% and see what that does. Okay, so that's a really useful one. So it will just do 100% of the screen. So whether you scroll in or out, it will stay right the way across. So there you have it. You've created, or hopefully it's worked for you, a box called Content 1, added a little bit of content and changed the colour and the size. So thanks for watching. Bye.